Hit it.
By a show of hands, how many of you enjoy listening to music and basically listen to it on a daily basis? Yeah. Some of us probably listen to it while we're exercising, doing homework, maybe even in the shower, and some people become dependent on music. Music may have a way that personally connects you and may say things that you never put into words before. There have been many research projects in the world where they research music's effect on the brain, and they may have been pleasantly shocked to find that your brain is doing so many things at once. While this may be the case for listening to music, recently, research has been done on the brain of musicians. The conclusions were quite positive. Students should learn a musical instrument to reach these positive enhancements that may increase while being a musician. Some people may argue that being an athlete has the same benefits, and here's why learning a musical instrument is not the same. The points that I will be giving you will inform you for the brain benefactors of being a musician, the differences and aspects between athletes and people who do neither sports or music, and benefits besides scientific benefits. So music has been a huge impact on some of our lives, but playing a musical instrument also has an effect on some lives as well. Dr. Anita Collins, an award-winning educator and researcher in the development of the brain, gives her input on the help of the production of a TED Ed video, of which I have research on. Neuroscientists monitor the brain using two different kinds of instruments, an fMRI, which stands for a functional magnetic resonance imaging, and a PET, also known as PET, as a positron emission tomography. They noticed that when you listen to music, parts of the brain light up, and so they started research on the musician's brain. They noticed, quote, playing music is the equivalence of a full-body workout, unquote, TED Ed. They noticed that musicians process information in very fast sequences in very complex ways. Playing an instrument impacts multiple parts of the brain, such as the visual, auditory, and motor cortices. These improve your motor skills, and both hemispheres are engaged. If you look on the first picture of your handout, you will see both hemispheres shown and what they do. This increases the corpus callosum of the brain, which is basically the glue between the two hemispheres. This improves also the executive function, which has to do with your memory. So these improvements may be happening in the brain, and it may still be little to some people, but here are some examples where musicians and athletes and control are compared. The authors of the article, Neural Mechanisms of Cognitive Control, an integrative model of Stroop task performance and fMRI data, are an affiliation of the University of Colorado Boulder. They have done research on athletes, musicians, and people who have done neither sports or musical interests. The musicians, athletes, and control have been put into a study called the Stroop task. They have been given multiple tests, and they monitor it using the fMRI. And they noticed there are three different types in the executive function. There are three different functions in the executive function: the inhibition, which is controlling habitual behaviors; the working memory, which is the activity and information; and cognitive flexibility, which is switching between tasks at a fast pace. The difference between musicians versus the people who do neither: musicians have greater bold signal. Now, people are probably wondering, what is a bold signal? A bold signal is the blood oxygen level dependency. This is under congruent conditions. During an fMRI color word Stroop test, quote, during an fMRI color word Stroop test, we found that children with musical training demonstrated increased ability in the ACC, which is the anterior cingulate cortex, as compared to the control children with no musical training, which may reflect increased recruitment of the cognitive control networks, unquote. It's increased engagement. The ACC, also known as the anterior cingulate cortex, is found on the second picture of your handout. Musicians versus athletes. They have not found a huge significance difference, but they have found that musicians have a greater signal change, a greater difference in signal change in the occipital cortex. If you look on the third handout, the third picture on your handout, I have circled the area where the occipital cortex is. Musicians compared to everyone. They have a greater bold signal difference and under congruent conditions, and better prediction skills under the oral and visual and cross-mexually parts of the brain. An SMA article written by Shanker Academy discusses 10 reasons why everyone should learn an instrument. Here are some different enhancements that come with playing a musical instrument. And in the article, some people relate to these 9 reasons. It's a stress reliever, it improves social life, builds confidence, teaches patience, and fosters creativity. In this article, I found this quote, "Since music education plays on your mental, emotional, and cognitive abilities, the brain is stimulated so that out of the ordinary, which results in improved creativity, the Academy. This also improves memory, develops discipline, achievement, and it is very enjoyable to some people." Now, sometimes, athletes sometimes relate to some of these as well, but not all of them. The NAMM, the National Association for Music Merchants, had a survey taken. This gives the public's view on other logistics referring to musicians. 54% of households have at least one member playing an instrument. 78% says that it helps with multiple subjects, and 85% says it corresponds with higher grades. So I recommend learning an instrument, and you can learn it by self-teaching yourself using YouTube or getting a private lesson, with the cost being at least $15. So I believe that every student should learn a musical instrument and reach these positive enhancements that may increase while being a musician. I showed you that the brain benefactors to being a musician, the differences in aspects between athletes, musicians, and control, and benefits besides scientific benefits. So go and pick an instrument today and play like you never have before.
Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause. I'd like you to stay up front for us for just a few minutes, and we are going to open up the floor to questions regarding this topic. So I'm going to let you go ahead and call on people, and please, if you've had one, keep your hand down so other people can participate whenever you're ready.
Does the study that you were talking about in the beginning account for those who play both, like being a musician and a athlete, or is it just a musician and just an athlete? Or
some of the things that I have said do have both, like as in the enhancements do include both athletes and musicians, but there are some that only refer to musicians that don't refer to athletes. So if you have both, you probably have all of the same cognitive enhancements. Yes?
When it talks about musicians and their instruments, does it matter which instrument you play? Like, is there a difference between a drummer and a piano player?
There is a difference in a drummer and piano player, but in the cognitive enhancements, if you practice every day and then learn how to play the instrument, it should have the same effects between the two. Jessica?
Do different, listening to different types of music affect the brain differently?
Yes.
Okay.
Different types of music can affect different emotions in the brain, but mostly listening to music will spark different parts of the brain at the same time. Yes?
How could you take advantage of some of these things if maybe you can't afford to buy an instrument, or is there a way to take advantage of this skill?
Of the
Mm-hmm.
If you, I mean, choral singers can kind of have the same as a musical instrument because you're using your voice, and it just has to do with daily practice, but it is like you can't reach as many as the same as you would playing a musical instrument.
Okay, we'll take one more question, please.
Luke?
There are some aspects, positive aspects at the end mentioned for musicians, and you said that some athletes don't experience those. What are some that athletes don't that musicians do?
I'm gonna look through this real quick. The fosters creativity is a huge one. That's a difference. You can foster some creativity while playing some sports, but it is more enhanced while playing a musical instrument.
All right, let's give her a round of applause. Thank you very much.